Once upon a time, in the heart of bustling New York City, there lived a young man named Alex. He was a dreamer, always looking beyond the horizon, searching for something more in life. He had a passion for photography, capturing the beauty of the world around him, even in the most mundane of places. But despite his love for his craft, something was missing. He felt a void, an emptiness that no photograph could fill. He longed for connection, for a love that would bring his life into focus. On the other side of the city lived a young woman named Lily. She was an artist, with a heart as wild and free as the wind. She painted her emotions onto canvases, creating worlds of color and light that spoke of her innermost feelings. But like Alex, she felt a deep loneliness, a yearning for a love that would inspire her, challenge her, and complete her. One fateful autumn afternoon, as the leaves began to fall and the city was painted in hues of gold and amber, Alex decided to take his camera and explore Central Park. He wandered through the winding paths, capturing the beauty of the season, the way the sunlight filtered through the trees, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot, and the laughter of children playing nearby. As he rounded a corner, he stumbled upon a small, secluded clearing. There, sitting on a bench with a sketchpad in her lap, was Lily. She was completely absorbed in her work, her hand moving swiftly across the page as she brought her vision to life. Alex was captivated by her, the way her brow furrowed in concentration, the way her eyes sparkled with creativity. Without thinking, he raised his camera and took a picture. The click of the shutter startled Lily, and she looked up, her eyes meeting Alex's. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The world around them faded away, and it was just the two of them, connected by an invisible thread of fate. Alex lowered his camera, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "I'm sorry," he stammered, stepping forward. "I didn't mean to intrude. Well, you look so focused, and the light was perfect." Lily smiled, her initial surprise giving way to curiosity. "No need to apologize. I'm used to people watching me when I paint, but usually not with a camera." Alex smiled back, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. "I'm Alex," he said, extending his hand. "Lily," she replied, taking his hand in hers. The touch was brief, but it sent a spark through both of them, like electricity. They spent the next few hours talking, exchanging stories about their lives, their passions, and their dreams. It was as if they had known each other for years, not mere hours. Alex showed Lily some of his photographs, and she showed him her sketches. They admired each other's work, recognizing a kindred spirit in the other. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the park, they realized how late it had become. Neither of them wanted the day to end, but they knew they had to part ways. Before they left, Alex asked if he could see her again. Lily hesitated for a moment, her heart conflicted. She had always been cautious about letting people into her life, afraid of getting hurt. But something about Alex made her want to take the risk. "All right," she said, her voice soft but sure. "Let's meet here again tomorrow." And so the next day they met in the same spot. And the day after that, and the day after that. It became their routine, their little sanctuary in the middle of the city. They would spend hours together exploring the park, talking about everything under the sun, and sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence, enjoying each other's company. As the weeks passed, their bond deepened. They found themselves opening up to each other in ways they never had with anyone else. Alex told Lily about his fears and insecurities, how he often felt like he was drifting through life without a clear direction. Lily shared her own struggles, how she had always felt like an outsider, never quite fitting in anywhere. They supported each other, encouraged each other, and inspired each other. Alex started taking more risks with his photography, experimenting with new techniques and perspectives. Lily's paintings became more vibrant, more daring, as she drew on the emotions that Alex brought out in her. It wasn't long before their friendship blossomed into something more. The first time they kissed, it was as if the world had shifted, as if everything had finally fallen into place. They were in love, and it was the kind of love that filled every corner of their hearts, that made them feel alive in a way they never had before. But as perfect as their love was, life had a way of testing them. One day, Lily received an offer to showcase her art in a prestigious gallery in Paris. It was a dream come true, an opportunity she couldn't pass up. but it also meant leaving New York and leaving Alex. When she told him the news, Alex's heart sank. He was thrilled for her, of course, but the thought of being apart from her was unbearable. He didn't want to hold her back, but he also didn't want to lose her. "I want you to go," Alex said, his voice thick with emotion. "This is your dream, Lily. You have to take it." "But what about us?" Lily asked, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't want to leave you. We'll make it work," Alex said, though his heart was breaking. "We'll find a way. Our love is strong enough to survive this." And so, with heavy hearts, they parted ways. Lily went to Paris, and Alex stayed in New York. They kept in touch, talking every day, sharing their lives from afar. But as time passed, the distance began to take its toll. They missed each other desperately, and no amount of phone calls or video chats could make up for the physical absence. One day, after months of struggling with the separation, Alex received a letter from Lily. It was filled with love and longing, but also with doubt. She confessed that she wasn't sure if she could handle the distance anymore, that she was scared they were drifting apart. Alex's heart broke as he read the letter. He felt helpless, knowing that no matter how much they loved each other, the distance was tearing them apart. He didn't want to lose her, but he also didn't want to hold her back. In a moment of clarity, Alex made a decision. He sold some of his most prized photographs, enough to buy a plane ticket to Paris. He didn't tell Lily he was coming. He wanted it to be a surprise. When he arrived in Paris, he went straight to the gallery where Lily's art was being showcased. As he walked through the doors, he saw her standing in front of one of her paintings, talking to a group of admirers. She looked as radiant as ever, her eyes sparkling with passion. Alex's heart swelled with love as he watched her. He realized in that moment that he couldn't live without her, that he was willing to do whatever it took to be with her. When Lily saw him, her eyes widened in shock. "Alex?" she whispered, unable to believe he was really there. He walked over to her, taking her hands in his. "I couldn't stay away," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "I love you, Lily. I don't care about the distance or the challenges. I just want to be with you, wherever you are." Tears filled Lily's eyes as she looked up at him. "I love you too, Alex," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've missed you so much." They kissed right there in the middle of the gallery, surrounded by Lily's art and the city of Paris. It was a kiss filled with love, with longing, with the promise of a future together. From that day on, they were inseparable. They decided to make Paris their home, a place where they could both pursue their passions while building a life together. Alex found inspiration in the city's streets, capturing its beauty through his lens, while Lily continued to create breathtaking art that spoke of their love. Years passed, and their love only grew stronger. They faced challenges, as all couples do, but they faced them together, knowing that they were stronger as a team. They supported each other's dreams, celebrated each other's successes, and comforted each other in times of sorrow. In the end, they realized that love wasn't about never being apart, but about always finding a way back to each other, no matter what. And as they stood together on a balcony overlooking the city they had come to call home, they knew that they had found something truly special, an extraordinary love that had been worth every challenge, every tear, and every moment of joy. As the years went by, Alex and Lily's love remained strong, but life had its way of slowly unraveling even the most beautiful tapestries. Paris had become their sanctuary, a place where they nurtured their love and creativity. But as time passed, the pressures of their individual pursuits began to pull them in different directions. Lily's art flourished, gaining international recognition. She was constantly invited to exhibit her work in galleries around the world, and her schedule became increasingly demanding. She spent long hours in her studio, lost in her world of color and light, often traveling to different countries for weeks at a time. Meanwhile, Alex's photography career had also taken off. His work was featured in renowned magazines, and he was offered assignments that took him to the far corners of the earth. He was thrilled by the success, but each time he returned to Paris, he found Lily more distant, her thoughts consumed by her art and the demands of her career. They still loved each other deeply, but the time they spent together grew shorter. and their once passionate connection began to fade into the background of their busy lives. Conversations became hurried, and the laughter that once filled their home grew quieter. They reassured each other that this was only temporary, that once things settled down, they would have time for each other again. But the days turned into months, and the distance between them only grew. They found themselves living parallel lives, each immersed in their own world, with little room left for the other. They had built a life together in Paris, but the love that had once been their anchor was now adrift. One winter evening, after returning from a long trip, Alex came home to an empty apartment. Lily had left a note on the kitchen table saying she had gone to her studio to finish a painting. He sighed, feeling a pang of loneliness as he sat down with the note in his hand. He missed her, missed the closeness they once shared. Weeks later, Alex noticed that Lily was spending even more time away, and when she was home, she seemed distant and preoccupied. He tried to talk to her about it, but she would brush off his concerns, assuring him that everything was fine, just busy. But deep down, Alex felt a growing unease. Something had changed, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. He tried to ignore it, telling himself that they were just going through a rough patch, but the feeling gnawed at him, refusing to be silenced. One night as they lay in bed, Alex turned to Lily and asked her directly, "Is everything okay between us? I feel like we're drifting apart." Lily hesitated, her eyes filling with tears as she struggled to find the words. "Alex, I love you," she said softly, "but I feel like we're living separate lives now. I'm always gone. You're always gone. It's like we're together, but not really." His heart sank as he listened to her, the weight of her words settling over him like a heavy blanket. He knew she was right, but hearing it out loud made it all the more painful. "I don't want to lose you," he whispered, reaching out to take her hand. "I don't want to lose you either," she replied, her voice trembling. "But I don't know how to fix this." They held each other that night, both knowing that something fundamental had shifted in their relationship, something that might never be fully repaired. In the weeks that followed, they tried to rekindle the spark that had once burned so brightly between them. They went on trips together, made time for romantic dinners, and tried to reconnect, but the effort felt forced, the love they were trying to reclaim elusive. One day, Alex returned home early from a photography assignment, hoping to surprise Lily. But when he walked into their apartment, he found her sitting on the couch, tears streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, rushing to her side. Lily looked up at him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Alex, I need to tell you something." His heart pounded in his chest as he braced himself for what was coming. "I met someone," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "It wasn't planned, it just happened. We spent so much time apart and I was lonely and I didn't mean for it to go this far, but..." The words hung in the air like a dark cloud, heavy and suffocating. Alex felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under him. The love of his life, the woman he had given his heart to, had betrayed him. He stood up, unable to look at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice shaking with pain. "I didn't want to hurt you," she replied, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want to lose you." "But you have," he said, his voice breaking. "You already have." Lily reached out for him, but he pulled away, the hurt too deep, the wound too fresh. He couldn't bear to be near her, couldn't bear to see the person he had trusted with his heart become the source of his greatest pain. That night, Alex packed a bag and left their apartment. He wandered the streets of Paris, the city that had once been their haven, now a maze of memories and broken dreams. He didn't know where to go or what to do. He only knew that he couldn't stay in the life they had built together. Days turned into weeks, and Alex tried to find solace in his work, but nothing could fill the emptiness that consumed him. He threw himself into his photography, capturing the raw beauty of the world, hoping it would distract him from the pain that gnawed at his soul. But every photo he took reminded him of Lily, of the life they had shared, of the love that had been lost. He couldn't escape the memories, couldn't escape the heartache. One day, he received a letter from Lily. She wrote of her regret, her sorrow, and her wish that things could have been different. She told him that she had ended things with the other man, that she wanted to try and make things right between them. But as he read her words, Alex realized that it was too late. The trust had been broken, the bond shattered. He couldn't go back, couldn't pretend that things could ever be the same. He wrote her back, telling her that he wished her happiness, but that he couldn't be a part of her life anymore. It was a painful decision, but it was the only one he could make. He needed to heal, to find a way to move on, even if it meant letting go of the love that had once defined him. Years passed, and Alex eventually found a new life, a life without Lily. He still carried the scars of their love, but he had learned to live with them, to accept that some things were not meant to be. He never stopped loving her, but he also knew that their story had ended long before they had ever realized it. The memories of their time together remained, a bittersweet reminder of what had been and what could never be again. And as he looked out at the world through his camera lens, he saw the beauty in the pain, the art in the heartbreak, and he knew that in the end, love was worth it, even when it didn't last forever. As the years passed, Alex tried to rebuild his life. The pain of losing Lily still lingered in his heart, but he found solace in his work. Photography had always been his passion, and now it became his refuge. He traveled the world, capturing moments of beauty and sadness, each image a reflection of the emotions he carried within. Despite the distance and time, Lily never truly left his thoughts. He would find himself in a city they had visited together, or hear a song they once loved, and the memories would flood back, bringing both warmth and sorrow. He knew he had to let go, but some part of him held on to the hope that maybe, just maybe, their paths would cross again. One day, while on assignment in a remote village in Italy, Alex stumbled upon an old, charming bookstore. The smell of aged paper and the sight of towering shelves filled with dusty volumes drew him in. He wandered through the aisles, running his fingers over the spines of books, when one title caught his eye: Letters to the Lost. Curious, he pulled the book from the shelf and began to read. The story was about a woman who had lost her great love and spent years writing letters to him, even though he would never read them. The letters were filled with regret, longing, and the pain of unspoken words. As he read, Alex felt a deep connection to the story. It mirrored his own life, his own lost love. The emotions in the book resonated with him so profoundly that tears welled up in his eyes. He bought the book and spent the rest of the day reading it in a small cafe, lost in the world of the protagonist. The book left a lasting impression on him, and when he returned to Paris, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He decided to create a photography project inspired by Letters to the Lost, capturing images that conveyed the essence of unspoken love, regret, and the bittersweet beauty of memories. He spent months traveling and photographing, pouring his heart into the project. Each photo told a story: a couple parting ways at a train station, a single rose left on an empty bench, a woman standing alone on a bridge, gazing at the horizon. The project was a labor of love, a tribute to the emotions that had shaped his life. When the project was finally complete, Alex returned to Paris and held an exhibition in a gallery. The response was overwhelming. People were moved by the images, each one evoking a sense of nostalgia, of love lost and found, of moments that were both fleeting and eternal. On the opening night of the exhibition, as Alex greeted guests and explained the inspiration behind his work, he noticed a familiar face in the crowd. His heart skipped a beat as he realized it was Lily. She looked as beautiful as ever, though there was a softness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Lily approached him slowly, her eyes scanning the photographs on the walls. "These are beautiful, Alex," she said softly when she reached him. "Thank you," he replied, his voice tinged with emotion. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I heard about the exhibition and had to come," she said, her gaze holding his. "I wanted to see the work you've been doing. It's breathtaking." There was a moment of silence between them, a charged stillness that spoke volumes. Finally, Lily broke the silence. "I've thought about you a lot, Alex, about us and everything that happened." "So have I," he admitted. "There are things I wish I could change, things I wish I'd done differently." "Me too," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've spent years regretting what I did, the choices I made. I was selfish and I hurt you. I'll never forgive myself for that." Alex looked at her, seeing the pain in her eyes, the regret that matched his own. "We both made mistakes, Lily, but we can't live in the past. What's done is done, she nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I know, but seeing your work, seeing how you've turned that pain into something so beautiful, it made me realize how much I still care about you, how much I've always cared. Alex's heart ached at her words, the old wounds reopening, but there was also a sense of healing, of closure. Lily, I loved you more than anything, and a part of me always will, but we've both changed. We're not the same people we were back then. I know, she said, wiping a tear from her cheek, but I've missed you, Alex. I've missed us. He took a deep breath, struggling with his emotions. I've missed you too, Lily, but I don't know if we can go back. So much has happened. We don't have to go back, she said, her voice filled with hope. Maybe we can start again, as who we are now. Her words hung in the air, full of possibility and fear. Alex looked at her, the woman he had loved so deeply, and he realized that the pain and the years apart had not diminished his feelings for her. They had only made them more complex, more real. Maybe we can, he said slowly, reaching out to take her hand. But we have to be honest with each other this time. No more secrets, no more lies. I promise, she said, squeezing his hand. I want to do this right, Alex. I want us to have a chance. And so, they began again, not as the young lovers they had once been, but as two people who had faced their demons and come out stronger on the other side. They took it slow, rebuilding their relationship brick by brick, with honesty and trust at the foundation. As the months passed, their love deepened, no longer tainted by the past, but enriched by it. They learned to communicate better, to share their fears and dreams without judgment. They spent more time together, traveling, laughing, and creating new memories that would not be overshadowed by the old ones. One evening, as they sat together on a balcony overlooking the Seine, Alex turned to Lily and said, "You know, there was a time when I thought I'd lost you forever, that I'd never be able to forgive you or myself for what happened. And now?" she asked, looking at him with love and curiosity. "Now I realize that everything we went through brought us to this moment," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "We were meant to find each other again, to learn from our mistakes and to build something even stronger than before." Lily smiled, her heart swelling with love for the man beside her. "I feel the same way. I'm so grateful we found our way back to each other." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the city lights dance on the river. Then, with a twinkle in his eye, Alex said, "There's something I've been wanting to ask you." Lily turned to him, intrigued. "What is it?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Opening it, he revealed a simple, elegant ring. "Lily, will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes as she looked at the ring, then back at Alex. "Yes," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, I will." Alex slipped the ring onto her finger and they embraced, both of them overwhelmed with joy and love. They had been through so much, but they had come out the other side stronger and more in love than ever. Their wedding was a small, intimate affair surrounded by close friends and family. It was a day filled with laughter, tears, and the promise of a future built on love, trust, and resilience. As they exchanged vows, they both knew that this time they would cherish each other and the life they had built together, no matter what challenges lay ahead. And so, Alex and Lily's love story continued, not without its ups and downs, but with a deep, abiding love that had been forged in the fires of experience and growth. They knew that they had been given a second chance, and they vowed never to take it for granted. They lived their lives together, side by side, facing whatever came their way with the knowledge that they had already overcome the hardest challenges. Their love, once fragile and broken, had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the beauty of starting over. Years passed, and Alex and Lily's life together grew richer with shared experiences and deep love. They cherished every moment, each day grateful for the second chance they had been given. Their marriage was strong, their bond seemingly unbreakable, but life, as it often does, had more trials in store for them. One chilly autumn evening, as the leaves fell in golden cascades outside their Parisian apartment, Lily began to feel unwell. At first, they thought it was just a cold, nothing serious. But as days turned into weeks and her symptoms persisted, they both grew concerned. After multiple visits to doctors and a battery of tests, they received devastating news. Lily had a rare, aggressive form of cancer. The diagnosis shattered their world. Alex couldn't believe it. How could the universe be so cruel to give them a second chance only to tear them apart like this? But despite the fear and the sorrow, they faced this new challenge together, determined to fight with everything they had. Lily began treatment, enduring rounds of chemotherapy that left her weak and drained. Her once vibrant spirit dimmed, her body frail and tired. Alex was by her side through it all, never leaving her for a moment. He took time off from his photography, dedicating himself entirely to caring for Lily. He would sit by her hospital bed, holding her hand, whispering words of love and encouragement even when his own heart was breaking. The months that followed were a blur of hospital visits, sleepless nights, and a roller coaster of emotions. There were days when they were filled with hope, convinced that Lily would beat the disease. But there were also dark days, when the reality of her condition weighed heavily on them both. Through it all, their love never wavered. If anything, it grew stronger, deeper, more profound. They spent their time reminiscing about the good times, the laughter, the adventures they had shared. They talked about their dreams for the future, even though they both knew that future might be slipping away. One evening, as they lay together in bed, Lily weakly turned to Alex and said, "Promise me something." "Anything," Alex replied, his voice thick with emotion. "Promise me that if I don't make it, you'll keep living. Don't shut yourself away. Don't let this destroy you. I want you to find happiness again, Alex. You deserve it." Alex's heart ached at her words. He couldn't imagine a world without her, but he nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I promise," he whispered, though the thought of life without Lily was unbearable. Lily's condition continued to deteriorate, and soon it was clear that the treatments were no longer working. The doctors suggested palliative care, and Lily made the decision to spend her remaining days at home, surrounded by the things she loved, with Alex by her side. They tried to make the most of the time they had left, cherishing every moment, no matter how small. They spent hours together, talking, laughing when they could, and crying when the sadness became too much to bear. They said everything they needed to say, leaving nothing unsaid, no regrets between them. On a cold winter's night, with the first snowflakes falling gently outside, Lily passed away in Alex's arms. Her last breath was a sigh of contentment, a final whisper of love as she slipped away peacefully, knowing she was deeply loved and would never be forgotten. Alex was devastated. The pain of losing Lily was unlike anything he had ever experienced. It felt as though a part of him had died with her. The world seemed emptier, colder, without her light. But he had promised her he would go on, that he would live. In the weeks following her death, Alex found it hard to face the world. He would sit in their empty apartment, surrounded by memories of Lily, the silence a constant reminder of her absence. But slowly, day by day, he began to find the strength to keep going. He picked up his camera again, using it to capture the beauty that still existed in the world, even in his grief. He created a new project, a tribute to Lily, capturing moments of love and loss, joy and sorrow, all the emotions that had colored their life together. The project was his way of honoring her, of keeping her memory alive through his art. As the years passed, Alex learned to live with the pain, to carry it with him as a part of who he was. He traveled again, seeing the world with new eyes, his love for Lily always in his heart. He met new people, made new friends, and even found love again, though it was different, softer, with the edges worn by time and experience. But no matter where life took him, Lily was always there, a quiet presence in his heart. He knew she would have wanted him to be happy, to live fully, and so he did. In that moment, he knew that Lily was with him, in the colors of the sky, in the whisper of the wind, in the beauty that surrounded him. As he raised his camera to take the shot, he felt a warmth in his heart, a sense of connection that transcended time and space. It was as if Lily was right there beside him, guiding his hand, sharing the moment with him. And in that instant, Alex realized that love never truly dies. It lives on in the memories we cherish, in the beauty we find in the world, and in the quiet moments when we feel the presence of those we've lost. He smiled, capturing the scene before him, knowing that this was Lily's final gift to him, a reminder that love is eternal and that she would always be a part of him, no matter where life took him. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex took a deep breath, feeling a sense of contentment and closure. He had loved, he had lost, but he had also found a way to carry that love with him, letting it shape and guide him as he continued to move forward. With the last rays of sunlight fading, Alex whispered a quiet thank you to the sky, to Lily, for the love they had shared and the life they had built together. And as he walked back down the mountain, he felt lighter, knowing that he had honored her memory in the best way possible, by living a life full of love, beauty, and meaning.